Breaking. Army wants to put someone without sanctions as president. Zimbabwe! Ha! This one is serious. Welcome back to Southern Africa Breaking News, the #1 most fearless, most investigative news channel in the region. I'm Takunda Mabika, and today we break what they've been trying to hide behind army gates and diplomatic silence. The military is planning for a post-Mnangagwa transition, and guess what? They want someone with no Western sanctions to take over. Someone clean in the eyes of the international community. Someone they can present as the face of a new Zimbabwe. And here's the shocker. Vice President Constantino Chiwenga has been quietly disqualified from that shortlist. Why? Because he's under sanctions himself. And in the Army's view, we can't fix a broken image by replacing it with another sanctioned one. Segment 1. The military's new strategy. Clean slate politics.
Welcome to the deep dive. Today we're zeroing in on Zimbabwe, looking at some potentially really interesting shifts maybe happening behind the scenes with their leadership.
Yeah, and our source for this is, well, it's quite specific. It's a transcript from a YouTube channel, Southern Africa Breaking News.
Right, the video title is pretty direct. Breaking! KG6 Army wants to put someone with no sanctions as president. VP Chiwenga disqualified. Quite a claim.
It is. So our job here really is to dig into what this source claims the Zimbabwean military might be planning for, a post-Mnangagwa situation.
Exactly. What are the alleged motivations? What could it mean? We want to give you a sense of the dynamics based purely on this report.
And what's interesting right off the bat is this idea of getting a glimpse into military thinking. It suggests a real shift in strategy, possibly.
Driven by this need to sort of break free from that international isolation Zimbabwe's faced for so long.
Seems like it. Okay, so the core claim, the big one.
Let's jump right in.
The transcript says, sources inside the Army, high-level ones apparently, want a successor who doesn't have Western sanctions hanging over them.
A clean slate. That seems to be the goal driving this reported strategy.
Pretty much. And the motivation, well, it seems quite pragmatic according to the source. They reportedly think a leader without that sanctions baggage.
They'd be better placed.
Much better placed, yeah. To rebuild global ties, re-engage the West, maybe get those sanctions finally lifted.
And attract investment, which is obviously crucial.
Absolutely vital for economic stability. You see this pattern, right? Countries under sanctions, looking for an off-ramp. This alleged military thinking kind of fits that mold.
Though you have to ask, can just changing the leader fix everything if the underlying issues aren't tackled?
That's the million-dollar question, isn't it? But the source includes a reported quote from a general.
Yeah, I saw that. If we're going to remove a sitting president, we must replace him with someone who doesn't come with political baggage. Pretty blunt.
It really hammers home that fresh start idea.
And this thinking, it apparently leads to a pretty major consequence in the report. The sidelining of Vice President Chiwenga. Why him? What's the reasoning given in the source?
Well, the main reason, the one they highlight, is that Chiwenga himself is under Western sanctions.
Stemming from the 2017 events and human rights issues later.
Exactly. So the reported logic from the Army, or these sources within it, is quite straightforward. Swapping one sanctioned leader for another sanctioned leader. Well, it just doesn't fix the image problem.
It doesn't achieve that goal of improving international standing. Makes sense from that perspective.
It really tells you something about what their priorities might be right now, assuming this report is accurate.
Definitely. But the transcript suggests it's not just about sanctions for Chiwenga, there's more to it.
Yeah, it seems there are other factors reportedly at play. First, there's mention of ongoing sort of undercurrents of tension within ZANU-PF. Chiwenga's always been seen as a possible rival to Mnangagwa, right?
That's been whispered about for years.
Then the source brings up his health, citing, those multiple medical trips overseas.
Okay.
And maybe crucially, it hints at divisions within the military itself. Apparently, not all the generals are fully behind his leadership style.
And there's another quote linked to that, isn't there, from a senior general?
Yes. Reportedly, he fights too many wars at once. We need peace.
Wow. That is quite direct.
It paints a picture, doesn't it?
So the irony here is pretty stark. Chiwenga was central to the 2017 transition that brought Mnangagwa to power.
Absolutely instrumental.
And now, if this source is right, the same military structure seems to be pushing him aside. It makes you think about how quickly alliances can shift.
It really does. And it suggests the military's calculation might have well, evolved. What they prioritized in 2017 might be very different from what this source claims they want now.
Maybe a realization that a different kind of leader is needed for today's challenges.
Potentially. Someone less confrontational, perhaps, more focused on stability and economics.
Okay, so if Chiwenga is reportedly out, who are they supposedly looking at? The transcript is cagey on names, right?
Very cagey. No specific names mentioned. But it does outline the type of person they're reportedly after.
And what's that profile look like?
The source uses phrases like neutral, low drama, respected figure. Key qualities seem to be diplomacy, good international connections.
And critically, zero sanctions.
Exactly. Zero sanctions. It all points towards someone who can be a bridge builder, someone who inspires confidence internationally.
Did the transcript give any hints about the kinds of backgrounds they might be considering?
It did offer a few archetypes, let's say. One mentioned was a respected technocrat, someone with cabinet experience.
Okay, practical experience.
Another was a younger, former diplomat. Suggests maybe looking for fresh perspectives, international savvy.
Interesting.
And maybe most notably, the source mentions the possibility of a woman, which, as it points out, would be completely unprecedented in Zimbabwe.
Wow, okay. But again, just profiles, no actual names floated in this report.
Correct.
Yeah.
Just gives you a sense of the direction their thinking is reportedly heading, perhaps aiming for a very different style of leadership.
Right. So this paints a picture of, well, a potentially big change in how Zimbabwe engages with the world, but the source also emphasizes the power dynamics inside Zimbabwe.
Yes, it's quite explicit about that.
What does it say this signifies about how power works there?
It basically frames this as the military stepping in as kingmaker again. Maybe less overtly than 2017, but still fundamentally influential in deciding leadership.
The power behind the throne, so to speak.
Kind of. But the reported goals this time are different. It's not just about internal power consolidation, it seems. The focus is apparently on winning global approval.
Getting foreign direct investment, maybe deals with the IMF, earning respect.
Precisely. International acceptance seems to be the watchword, according to this report.
And there's that other quote, the one that sums it up. We don't want another strong man. We want a stabilizer, someone the world sees as hope.
That quote really encapsulates this supposed shift in thinking, or at least in the messaging. A stabilizer.
Yeah.
And look, regardless of anyone's political leanings in Zimbabwe, if this plays out, it could really reshape the country's path, especially economically and internationally.
Which brings us to a really crucial question the transcript touches on. How might Chiwenga himself react if he is being sidelined?
That's a huge question. He played such a key role before.
Exactly. He helped orchestrate the last transition.
Well, the source suggests he is, quote, not happy. Understandably, perhaps. It says he believes he has earned the presidency.
So you potentially have personal ambition clashing with what the institutional parts of it reportedly see as necessary.
And it highlights that reported shift in focus within the army, moving from, say, loyalty and past contributions to prioritizing international image.
So Chiwenga could potentially find himself on the outer edges of a power structure he was instrumental in building.
That would be a dramatic turn, absolutely. And it's a stark reminder, isn't it, of how fluid power dynamics can be. Politics is rarely straightforward.
No kidding. Okay, so let's just quickly recap the main thread from this report we've been dissecting. The central claim is that the Zimbabwean military, or key elements within it, are reportedly looking for a successor without Western sanctions.
Yeah, the main reported driver being this desire to fix Zimbabwe's international image, attract investment, get sanctions lifted, a very pragmatic, outward-looking goal, supposedly.
And this reported strategy has led to Vice President Chiwenga, who carries his own sanctions, potentially being moved off the succession shortlist.
In favor of someone perceived as cleaner internationally, someone who fits that neutral, low drama profile.
Right. And it's really important for you, the listener, to remember where this comes from.
Absolutely. This entire deep dive is based on the information presented in that specific YouTube transcript from Southern Africa Breaking News. It's one perspective.
It offers a specific viewpoint on events that might be unfolding, and it certainly underscores the military's reported ongoing influence in Zimbabwe's politics.
Definitely a key factor, according to this source.
So it leaves us with a final thought, something for you to mull over. How much can external factors like international perception or sanctions actually influence the internal political chess game and leadership choices inside a country?
Yeah, what does this specific case, as reported, tell us about that complex dance between domestic power struggles and how a nation is viewed and treated by the rest of the world?
It's certainly food for thought as we watch how things develop, not just in Zimbabwe, but elsewhere too. Thanks for joining us for this deep dive.